Hey guys, by popular demand, I am back and ready to yap, and let's get into this one. So I wanted to talk today because somebody had some questions about how you should go about just auto attacking in League of Legends, because we cover a lot of basics, and I think that the differences sometimes between a Masters player or a GM player, a Challenger player, and somebody who's in Diamond or somebody who's even lower rank, a lot of times comes down to all of the little things, right? The devil's in the details, and I think that there's a lot of little things that are done, at many different points that change, I think, the way that you play as a player. And so when you auto attack here, there's like your very traditional just right clicking, like this. And then you can also use attack move. And so people were asking, what is the difference between attack move and just right clicking here? What is it going to do for us? Maybe what situations would we use this in? And then of course there's some other things here as well. Like we've got target champions only, as well. And then we've also got the ability in our settings to change attack move to either be attack move on cursor or prioritize, if this is off, the target that's just closest to our champion. And so let's kind of look at why we would do this and how we want to auto attack at a high level as opposed to doing what a lot of players do. So this is really important. When a lot of players go to auto attack, they right click on the thing that they're trying to auto attack even though they're not in range. And so if I do that here, obviously I'm not in range. If I try to right click on the target dummy, it's going to walk me at the target dummy in a path, and then I'm going to auto attack. But as this person moves, if this was a person instead of a target dummy, this is not going to be a very efficient path, because what it's going to do is it's going to draw a straight line. We can see it, if I go a little bit further away, we can even see it on the map here. We can see down here, it's just drawing a straight line from me to this target in blue on the mini-map. But the problem is that it's going to update that line every time they move. So as they start to run away towards their turret or something like that, it's going to continuously update this line. And instead of running in the most efficient path at them to get into auto range, which would be a straight line, I'm just running straight at them. So this is a fairly simple, straightforward concept, but actually I was taught this in soccer. If you're trying to defend against someone who's trying to score, you don't run directly at them, you run at where they're going to go. So let's say that I want to fight this person and I want to chase them down, and I know that they might be running away towards their tower. Instead of starting the fight by approaching like this and running at them and autoing them, I actually want to run in a way that's going to be a direct diagonal line to cut off their path of escape. So I'm going to run like this, and as they run this way, I'm knowing that, okay, they're going to have to go here. They're probably running towards like here or here, under their turret. So I'm going to be looking to cut off their path rather than just running straight at them. And I think a lot of players get into this really bad habit of just right clicking and then getting in range of them and letting the game auto attack for you, when in reality you should be walking like this and hitting them, and then like this, and then like this, and then like this. So you should be cutting off the person. Same thing if you're trying to kite somebody while you're running away, you want to be running in the path that you want to run in. You don't want to allow them to dictate your movement by just holding right click down on them. Another really important thing related to this is that you should almost like never be right clicking someone to try to auto attack them if you're not in range. Now, if you're not exactly sure of your range and you're, just barely out of your range, and you right click them and then half a second later, or, even less than that, you end up autoing them, okay, whatever, you just like didn't know what your range was. But you're going to see really good players, not clicking the person until they're in range of them. That way their movement doesn't get skewed by the way that the enemy is moving. It's like the last thing that you want to do in League is make your movement predictable. It makes it easier to hit you with spells. It makes it easier to to know where you're going and what you're going to do. And so if you right click on the enemy when you're not in range, you're going to follow their movement. And so they actually get to control you physically. They get to control the way that you're going to move, which is terrible and not what you want. So, you know, for example, if I right click the scuttle crab and he starts moving one way or another, I'm going to be following him and my movement is very predictable. Now, here's another important, really important, but basic thing about how you're going to auto attack in League. You can see here that when I was sitting there autoing the crab over and over again like this, I'm not moving at all until the crab gets out of my auto attack range. And so sometimes I'm just stopping while I'm moving. What a good player is going to do is they're never going to stop between their movements. They're always going to know their attack speed and basically spend as little time as possible autoing between their attacks. And so, for example, if you can only attack, we talked about attack speed before, if you can only attack, you know, 0.73 times a second, you have a whole lot of time there between your auto attack when you can just move around freely and you can't auto attack. So if, you know, we go back to like the dummy that's just sitting there static, it might be actually easier to see this. So look at how long, especially because I'm level 1, look at how long I have between auto attacks, right? So now I do the same thing, but now I'm moving between my auto attacks. I'm not slowing down my attacks if I'm good at doing this and I understand my champion's attack speed, but what I am doing is creating movement that makes it harder to hit me and allows me to do a couple of things. Again, if I'm running away, it's going to allow me to kite while gaining distance on them. And if I'm chasing them down, it's going to allow me to gain extra distance on them. Now, you don't want to, you know, overextend in order to chase somebody down, obviously. You don't want to overchase. But sometimes, and you'll see me do this a lot, especially on a tank champion like Braum, where I'm not as worried about my positioning, and I can use W and flash and stuff like that to reposition. A lot of times, I'll kite past the enemy champion, right? Because if they're trying to run to their turret, and I can actually get past them and put myself in between, you know, they're in a really bad spot because I'm able to auto them for free so much as they have to run, you know, on this path through me. I'm able to auto them the whole time without having to worry about that. So this is very key to spacing. So melee champions are going to do that, trying to kite through somebody quite often. So that's really important. And then the same concept applies to melee champions, right? Even if you're melee, you're going to have a certain amount of attack speed. You're going to be able to move between your auto attacks. And this is not super easy, right? Champions have different attack speed at different levels as they get items. And so this isn't something where like you learn, you know, how fast Kai'Sa auto attacks and then you have to be adaptable at this, you know, every single time that you play. I'm sure that playing a ranged champion like Kai'Sa and not being as used to her attack speed as someone who's really good at Kai'Sa, I bet I'm attacking slightly slower than a really good player would on Kai'Sa. But here's another piece of food for thought that I would propose as well. Even if you're worried that you're attacking a little bit slower this way because you might launch your auto attack a little bit after it's up, you know, you might not be perfectly tuned in on your attack speed, keep in mind that it's probably better for you to miss an auto attack in a trade, but continue to move, because it will be so much harder to hit you than it is to actually, even if you miss an auto attack because you've messed up the timing, A, you're going to be learning the timing by doing it, and B, it's going to make it so much harder for them to hit you that it's probably going to make up for an auto attack. Another thing that could make up for an auto attack if you're doing this this movement is, like we talked about, if we're chasing somebody down and we're able to get, you know, past them or get much closer to them or something like that, or if we're running away, the extra distance that we gain is going to potentially allow us to auto attack the person an extra time, as a, you know, anyways. So like even if I mess up and my timing between my attacks is slightly slower than it should be, I'm going to give myself so much extra distance on the person by running ahead of them like this, that I'm going to get a huge advantage there that's probably going to be worth the auto attack back, at least while you're actually learning how to auto attack properly. Now, for some other tips, right? So let's say that we want to auto attack into a bush. Like we don't see the enemy, but I want to auto attack as soon as I get into a bush. So if we attack move into the bush, it's going to issue a command to automatically start attacking the first thing that it sees in the bush. Now, if we get rid of this dummy here, or we put another one closer, one of the difficulties with attack move on cursor is that if I try to attack move into this bush, knowing that there's a champion here, you might expect that because I'm attack moving into the bush, it should be hitting over here. In fact, I'm putting my cursor closer to the guy who I know is in this bush, and yet it's attacking this dummy. So why is it doing that, right? The reason why it's doing that is because I have attack move on cursor enabled, which means that it's going to prioritize the target closest to my mouse click, but I can't see the person in the bush, so it's obviously not going to prioritize attacking them. Otherwise, I would know that if somebody was in the bush, if I started moving here and I tried to auto attack in it. So even if we turn this off and make it so that it prioritizes the target closest to my champion, it's still going to auto this guy when I do this here. So why, that's the same either way. So why would you want one or the other? So I think that when you're using attack move, you want to be able to prioritize the champion that you want to be hitting. So even if you have a champion that's closer to you, if this target is lower HP and you're about to kill them, even if this guy is closer to you, sometimes you're going to want to auto this guy. So that's, attack move is going to allow me to do that because I'm attack moving the target that's closest to me. If this is disabled, I can no longer choose by using attack move to target this guy who's low. Instead, even though I'm clicking over here, it's going to be hitting the guy who's closest to me. So a lot of players use attack move on cursor on so that it gives them the ability to attack move the person they actually want to attack. Now, why use attack move instead of right click? We went through one scenario, which is if we're trying to face check a bush, it's a better idea to face check the bush with attack move unless there's a target in front of the bush. Otherwise, you're going to end up accidentally hitting this target instead. In which case, if you're chasing somebody, you're going to want to chase into the bush yourself. But the reason why you'd want to use attack move instead of right click is especially on an AD carry where like auto attacking is obviously of the utmost importance, but don't underrate it, right? Like certain champions that you wouldn't think need really good attack control or whatever you want to call it, like supports, actually benefit a ton from being able to do this really well. And obviously a champion like Braum, it's really important that you have good auto attack spacing, is what we call moving between auto attacks, or you can call this orb walking. Obviously, if you're going backwards, we call this kiting, things like that. So why would you use right click as opposed to attack move? So here's one of the reasons why. When you're playing AD carry, and let's say that you're trying to move your character back and forth, usually when we try to move our character in League, it's much better to click, like I'm doing here, right next to your champion. The reason why it's good to click right next to your champion is because the distance that it takes me to move my cursor from here to here is a lot less than it takes me to move my cursor from here to here. So let's say this person is trying to throw a skill shot at me this way, and I have to make a decision split second to dodge up or to dodge down. If my cursor's sitting out here, then I'm in a lot of trouble, because if I need to dodge up in order to dodge the ability because they throw it a little bit down at me, I have to drag my cursor all the way from out down here all the way up here to be able to move up here. Whereas if I keep my cursor close to my champion, I can dodge forwards, backwards, left, right very, very quickly. So I'm going to have much better control of my champion if I'm clicking near the base of my champion. So good players tend to keep their cursor near the base of their champion. Now, that being said, when we're looking at kiting or moving while we're auto-attacking, you'll notice that I have to pull my cursor, if I'm going to right-click, all the way forward to the target that I want to hit. But I don't necessarily want to do that because I want to be able to move very quickly. So one of the things that's really nice is if I attack move like right here, the ground in front of me or the ground behind me, I'm still going to auto this target, but my cursor doesn't have to be at this guy. It can be here. So I'm able to auto attack and dodge much more efficiently than if I was having to drag my cursor all the way out here and then click back and forth. So if I'm trying to move around, generally speaking, it's a lot better for your movement if you're able to use attack move. I'm not very good at this, holy moly. But if you're able to use attack move, close to your character to attack the person you're trying to attack, that's going to be a lot better. Now, in the situation we talked about like this, it doesn't really make much of a difference because obviously we're going to have to attack move at least halfway out towards this target. Otherwise, if we attack move here, we're going to attack this guy. So you're still going to have to target that. So if you're targeting a specific person, you're probably better off right-clicking because you're always going to be more accurate right-clicking than trying to use attack move. Imagine, if we have another target dummy here, imagine if we have a group like this, and I want to hit this guy. If I'm attacking here in the middle, it's anybody's guess who I'm going to attack. Let's see here. So here I ended up attacking this guy. Slightly to the right, I end up attacking this guy. Slightly to the left, I end up attacking this guy. So if I'm attack moving here, it's basically anybody's guess. My champion's kind of flailing around attacking whoever. So in a situation like this, we've got multiple opponents around you, and you want to be specific with who you're targeting. You're going to want to right-click. Especially because you're going to have to flick out when you're against multiple targets like this anyways. You're going to have to flick out in order to flick your cursor all the way out in a way that you don't want to do, and it's bad for your movement, but you have to flick your cursor out here in order to target the specific champion that you want to target anyways. Now, if there are minions, this can add another complication to it. So if we get some minions and fast forward 30 seconds or so, the other problem here is that if I'm attack moving, it's going to treat these minions with attack move essentially the same way it would treat, it would treat them if there were more target dummies here. So this is just going to attack the closest thing I'm going to attack, right? So it's going to attack whatever's closest to my cursor. I need more minions back. Oops. But obviously, if I want to target a champion, if I attack move like this, now I'm hitting the minion on accident. So much better to right-click in a situation like this, even though it compromises my ability to keep my cursor next to my champion a little bit. But whenever I'm in a situation where, I'm breaking out away from the minions, or, it's easy for me in open space to be using attack move, much better to attack move next to my champion than it is to attack move on the dummy or to right-click. Let's see here. Oh, I actually want to bring the minions back again. So one other thing, right, is we talked about this. This key is very important. So by default, it's your tilde key. This is a setting. Let's see. So this is treat target champions only as a toggle. So you can either have this something that you have to hold down, or you can have this as something that you can toggle on and off. And again, most players prefer to have a toggle because you're not going to want to hold this down while you're trying to do other stuff. And I think this is really OP, especially on support champions, actually, and I'll explain why. So if I'm trying to attack this dummy in the middle of a bunch of minions, and we're in a fight, if I hit the tilde key, or whatever key you want to change it to, if you feel like that's not, easy for you to find or get used to on your keyboard, this is going to make it so that no matter what, I cannot click on the minions. So I cannot click to hit these minions. I can only hit the enemy champions. This is really, really nice because in a lot of messy fights where there's a lot of minions, if you're just good enough or not lazy enough to turn on this hotkey, you're going to prevent yourself from ever auto-attacking a minion again. Now, it's really important to note that even if you turn this on, if you use attack move, it will still let you attack move minions. So if you're ever using target champions only, you probably want to be auto-attacking with right-click, because if you auto-attack with attack move, you might accidentally attack a minion instead. This is also a really great tool for turret diving, because, let's get rid of these dummies. If you're trying to turret dive an enemy champion, like this, a lot of people, all the time, even pretty high up, are going to accidentally auto-attack the turret, you know, or a minion, or they're going to attack move the turret here. Oops. I might need some health. But when we're diving the enemy champion, if we turn on attack move only, it's not going to let me click on this turret, no matter how hard I try. So whenever you're diving an enemy champion, you should pretty much always just hit the tilde key, or again, whatever key you assign to do this. And now I'm going to be able to attack them every single time. But again, keep in mind when you're turret diving, that attack move will still let you attack move the turret, even if you have target champions only on. Oops, our turret's gone. Can go look at that in another lane real quick. Oh, we can just spam Q on the wave since we've got no cooldowns. Oh, I have no mana though. So even if we have target champions only on, if we try to attack move, it will still attack the turret sometimes, right? It's still going to let you do that. So basically, to recap, we're going to want to make sure that we're moving between our auto attacks. Even if we're moving a little bit too much between our auto attacks, better to move too much than to move too little. Even if you slow down your DPS, your movement is more important, and not getting hit is going to save you a lot more HP than you're going to deal by extra damage by weaving in a 1/10 of an auto attack, or, you know, in some situations it's going to result in an extra auto attack here or there. We're going to get way more from moving between our auto attacks to better dodge abilities. We're going to get way more from being able to kite or chase an enemy champion down. When we're chasing an enemy champion down, we want to make sure that we're running them down in a straight line to where they're going to go, not just chasing them straight on. We almost never want to right-click a champion from out of range, because if they start moving, it's going to change your movement, and rather than taking a straight line to them, you'll follow some squiggly line to them that's going to be very inefficient and slower to get onto them. If you're attacking somebody and you just sit still attacking like this, and they're running away from you like we did on the Scuttle Crab here, they're going to, your champion will not move if you just right click on something until they get out of your auto attack range. And so you're going to have this weird, just really slow, you know, stuttering when you're auto attacking, as opposed to the way a good player would auto attack, which is constantly moving between their auto attacks, chasing the thing down, and following their movement with the thing that they're autoing, so that there's no downtime between your auto attacks except for you moving to protect yourself, or to get extra distance on them, which is going to equal more DPS. We've got target champions only for when we're fighting in the middle of a minion wave or under a turret, so that we never screw up a dive or, you know, auto a minion in the middle of an important fight again. We have attack move and right click, and we're going to attack move when we're in open space with nothing around us, so that we can attack move next to our character, so that we can easily right click to move, because we're already there with our cursor. When we move in general, we're going to move super close with our cursor to our champions, so that we don't have to be dragging our cursor back from Narnia in order to dodge an ability. And we're going to use right click when we're in a situation where attack move is stuck between multiple targets and is not necessarily going to hit the specific target that we want. So when we want to be very specific with our target selection and not just hit somebody who's, you know, who's like approaching us, when we want to focus down a low health enemy, even though we have 2 people near us, we're going to want to right click, which is going to compromise our ability to move in between our auto attacks a little bit, but it is going to, you know, give us the extra advantage of targeting that person. So I hope that these tips help you auto attack better in League. Good luck in solo queue and have a wonderful day.